Almirante Oquendo is a Tier 8 premium Spanish cruiser and one of the premiums that was added to World of Warships Legends for the August 2026 update. I hate to tell you this, but I really like the Oquendo, and the reason I say I hate to tell you that is because in order to actually obtain this ship, you're probably going to have to spend exorbitant amounts of money. Now, I'll explain how you actually acquire the ship. It's kind of complicated, though. So, before we get into that, I'm going to show you the commander build I've been running for Oquendo. It's the only Spanish cruiser commander in the game as of now, I think. Pascual Cervera y Topete. His inspirations are Mikawa for extra concealment and Mimbelli for better reload. We'll go over the specs, of course. They'll be influenced by the build, but before we get into the breakdown of the cost and the details on the specs, I'll just say that the TLDR here is the Almirante Oquendo is essentially an Andalucia hull, but it doesn't have the gimmick that the Tech Tree Spanish line has, namely the Ready Rack. This is a much more vanilla, conventional cruiser with large guns that have an 11-second reload and really accurate shells. You'll see the accuracy as this battle plays out, and it's that accuracy that makes me like the ship so much. It just feels like a nice, solid farming heavy cruiser to play. Nothing completely unique about the playstyle, I don't really think, but pretty satisfying to use, and that's the reason I like the ship. Anyway, if you want to pursue this vessel, you're going to need the Mariner coins. Those are, of course, the temporary currency that you can exchange for all kinds of rewards in the update. You can get things like the Navarin, the Tulsa, and the Dalian for these Mariner coins. So, assuming you're not going to pursue any of those ships or buy any of the other things that you can buy with the Mariner coins, so you can only use them to go after the Almirante Oquendo, this is what you'd have to do. I'm going to assume you would buy the Admiralty backing for the campaign regardless, and I'm not going to count the cost of the Admiralty backing toward the cost of Oquendo, because I would personally buy the Admiralty backing no matter what, just to get the campaign ship, and that wouldn't factor into my pursuit of this ship if I were going after it. So, upon completing the campaign with Admiralty backing, you would have 5,000 coins for quote-unquote free. You can get another 3,000 by completing the ongoing calendar event, another 5,000 from completing all of the weekly assignments, and then 500 from the treasure hunt web event. If you did all of that, then that would mean you'd have 13,500 Mariner coins for quote-unquote free. You can also get 100 Mariner coins each for each of your first wins on the legendary tier ships with the Windrose. Now, personally, I have 59 legendary tier ships. I think I'm only missing 3. Those would be the Midway, Hakuryu, and I think the Napoli B. But 59 legendary tier ships for me, 59 first win bonuses, 5,900 Mariner coins. So assuming I completed the campaign with Admiralty backing, ground out wins on all 59 of my legendary tier ships, and completed the other activities that give you coins, I would have 19,400 coins for free. Now, the Novorossiysk, or not the Novorossiysk, sorry, the Almirante Oquendo sits at the end of a bundle chain called the Call of Adventure. There are 4 things in this bundle chain, with Oquendo being the 4th thing, and all of these steps in the bundle chain costs Mariner coins. The first one is a commander guise named Cecilia Shaw for 3,000 coins. Second is the Tier 5 Novorossiysk for 7,000. Third is a 5-pack Explorer's Chest for 5,000. And then finally, the Almirante Oquendo is the 4th thing in the bundle chain for a total of 20,000. Now, in my example here, I have 19,400 coins. That's enough to afford the first 3 bundle chains at a total of 15,000. So if I did that, I would be 4,400 coins remaining at the end of it to go toward the 20,000 it costs for Oquendo. So, how do you make up the difference then? Well, you buy the Explorer Crate bundles in the store. They're in the, I believe, birthday section of the store. They've got three options: the Explorer's Fortune, which is a 20 pack of crates for 25,000 doubloons. Or I guess they're all called Explorer's Fortune. So there's a 20 pack for 25k doubloons, a 10 pack for 12.5k doubloons, and then single packs for 1,250 doubloons each. The 20 pack gives you 10,000 Mariner coins. The 10 pack gives you 5,000. And then each of the single packs gives you 500. So basically, I would need to buy one 20 pack for 25k dubs, one 10 pack for 12.5k dubs, and basically two single packs for 1,250 each. That would be 40,000 doubloons in order to obtain the Almirante Oquendo. And if you look at the doubloon prices, the sort of the closest thing to 40,000 is the 47,000 doubloon pack for a grand total of 150 US dollars. Now, technically speaking, the Oquendo in my case would be cheaper than that, but I'd probably just buy the 47,000 doubloon pack at that point and use the remainder to maybe buy more crates. I suppose the best thing you could say about this setup is because it is going to require you to buy these crate packs to make up the difference and obtain the ship, just by virtue of opening those crates, you're likely going to end up with more premium ships than just the Almirante Oquendo. You probably would get the Mecklenburg too at that point, but that is an awful lot of money to spend, and there's no way I can see that's worth it. And that's the best case scenario too. I'm a community contributor. I get like pretty much all the ships without having to pay or grind for them as far as the legendary tier 1s go. So that's why I have 59 in total. If you don't have anywhere near that many, then the cost could be even higher than 40,000 doubloons for you to get this ship. And there's no ship in the game that's worth that much. I mean, I suppose if you think it's a really, really great idea to spend something like 40,000 doubloons on these Explorer chests in hopes of drawing, some good rewards from opening all those chests, then I guess you just get the Almirante Oquendo at that point as an extension of your pursuit of these chests. That would be the only way that I could justify it if it were me, but I don't think I'd be spending that much money. It's too much. And at the end of the day, like I said, I really like this ship, but the reason for that is just because it's a solid farming cruiser with really accurate main battery guns. It is an Almirante Oquendo, it is an Andalucia hull though. So we've got a grand total of 48,300 HP, which is maybe not all that impressive, and our bow armor is 25 millimeters. Same thing with the stern. We've got a 27 millimeter armor belt and deck, and of course the Citadel armor is thicker than that. The Citadel is exposed, though, above the waterline, probably easy to hit, although it's got a couple layers of armor between it and, the enemy shells. So it's possible that it's fairly well protected. I found that if you keep it angled and you make yourself an unattractive target for other ships to shoot at, it's fairly survivable and even tanky, I suppose. The main battery guns, though, are the best thing about it. We've only got a 15.7 kilometer range, but these are 12 203 millimeter or 8-inch guns, typical heavy cruiser stuff. With this build, we've got an 11.2 second reload, although the base reload time is 14 seconds. And as you might imagine, the shell grouping's pretty good. We've got 2.2 sigma and really nice dispersion numbers across all the vertical and horizontal dispersion things. You can see how accurate these shells are every time I shoot a salvo. I mean, I think that was all 12 shells on target against the Iowa there. So, yeah, very, very accurate, very nice to use. They shoot HE and AP. The AP does a maximum of 2,850, and it's got a 17% fire chance. Pens 34 millimeters of armor, being larger guns. Pretty effective at lighting fires and dealing damage over time that way, not to mention the HE pen. There's nothing really special about the AP. It hits for a maximum of 4,500, doesn't have any kind of improved pen angles or anything like that. Decent, pretty good penetration at point blank, I guess, 433 millimeters. And okay penetration at max range, 178.5 millimeters. I suppose that's going to be enough to Citadel cruisers and the like, and, chunk battleships. And with how accurate these shells are, you could really dial in the aim to make sure you hit the area of the ship where you want, which of course is good for farming damage. It's got secondaries, they aren't worth mentioning. It's also got torpedoes. It's got 2 triple launchers on either side of the ship. They've got an 8-kilometer range, 62 knots in the water. They reload in 106 seconds, and they hit for 15,000. I don't think we're going to be landing any torpedoes in this battle, and I don't think I've landed torpedoes too terribly often in this ship in general. It's mostly the main battery guns, which, as you can see, we've farmed 140,000 damage and counting so far. There's going to be more than that by the time this battle ends. It's got some AA defenses. They're not very good. I wouldn't say it can defend itself against planes. Maneuverability characteristics, though, are good. We have a speed of 37.8 knots. I believe that is buffed in some way by the build. I'm not running the speed flag, but it's a little bit less than that base. Probably something like 36. But yeah, 37 knots, almost 38 in a straight line. 790 meter turning circle, 10.1 second rudder shift. It's a fairly maneuverable cruiser. You can certainly open and close the angle to protect yourself. You're fairly good at kiting. You've got all the tools that you need to go around the map and farm damage. And as for the concealment, with the Makawa inspiration and with the concealment module, 10.2 kilometers. Now we've got the high caliber metal in this battle. We've got 156,000 damage done, only 2 ships left alive, one of which is the Somme. The only thing I can say that's sort of negative about these guns is the shell arcs are pretty floaty. So at longer distances against smaller targets, it might be difficult to dial in the aim, but if you can do it, you have great accuracy, and these guns are just excellent. That's the whole reason I like the ship. It's just nice to farm with really accurate cruiser guns like this. But I wouldn't say there's anything special here. There's no crazy gimmick other than the pretty good accuracy on the main battery guns. The guns themselves are conventional. This is just like a typical Tier 8 heavy cruiser with 8-inch guns. I suppose it would be a close comparison to something between, I don't know, the American and the IJN ships. It's just a very vanilla cruiser, which I kind of think is refreshing. But it's odd, I think, that this thing would cost this much money because, there's no crazy special gimmick here. It's just a normal experience. I should mention, too, that the thing does have a repair party. Seems pretty conventional. It restores 289 HP per second for a total of 28. And then it's got sonar. I suppose the sonar is really good, okay? It's got a ship acquisition range of 5.9. So like 0.1 km off the excellent German sonar. Lasts for 122 seconds. Reloads in 171. You get 3 of them. So I suppose you've got really good ship pushing sonar with this thing. If you were to push a smoke screen, that's going to be dangerous to any enemy destroyer, particularly when you're shooting laser beams of HE at them. They're not going to like that. So I suppose that there would be the gimmick of the ship. But as far as gimmicks go, a 6 km ship spotting sonar on a cruiser with 10 km concealment is pretty mild, as, compared to other gimmicks that have been in this game. So this ship is pretty vanilla. There's nothing crazy about it, but it's just a really solid, really accurate Tier 8 cruiser. 177,000 damage, 3,300 base XP. This thing can help you win games, but there's no way I can recommend it for the cost. It's just totally absurd, and it's definitely not worth it. I don't know if this ship is going to end up being a super prize at some point in the future. I can't see why it would be. I don't really think it's super prize material. Hopefully it'll come back in a more obtainable way, because I think for a more reasonable price, this would be a good premium to get if you just want a nice, consistent, solid experience. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.